Kind old lady shelters 15 bikers in a snowstorm. Next morning, 100 bikes lined up outside her home. The night was cruel, snow falling like a white curtain, winds howling through the empty highway. 15 rough-looking bikers, soaked to the bone, had no choice but to stop at a small wooden house on the edge of town. They weren't used to asking for help, but that night, survival came before pride. When an old lady, frail but kind-eyed, opened her door, the bikers expected fear or rejection. Instead, she smiled and said, "Come in, boys, before you freeze." They never imagined that this simple act of kindness would change their lives forever. But by morning, her quiet little cabin would become the center of something the whole town would talk about. When over 100 roaring motorcycles appeared out of nowhere in front of her home, the storm came suddenly. Roads vanished beneath heavy snow and visibility dropped to almost nothing. The 15 bikers, members of a group called the Iron Hawks, had been returning from a charity ride when the weather turned deadly. They tried to push forward, but the icy wind cut through their jackets, numbing their hands and faces. The leader, Mason Steel-Turner, knew they couldn't last long out there, through the white haze. They spotted a faint light, a lantern glowing from a small cottage. With no other choice, they parked their bikes, their boots crunching in the thick snow as they approached. When Mason knocked, he expected a shotgun or a slammed door. Instead, a gentle voice answered. An elderly woman, Mrs. Eleanor Hayes, stood there wrapped in a shawl, her silver hair glowing under the porch light. "Good heavens," she said softly, "you boys look frozen. Come in." They hesitated, but her warmth melted their defenses. Inside, the house smelled of baked bread and cinnamon. She brought them towels, blankets, and steaming mugs of cocoa. Not a single trace of fear in her eyes while they warmed up. She told them she'd been alone since her husband passed years ago. He used to ride, too. She smiled faintly, pointing at an old black and white photo of a young man on a Harley. He said, "Bikers have the biggest hearts." Just hidden behind leather, the bikers exchanged silent looks. This woman had opened her home to total strangers, and somehow she trusted them completely. That night, the snowstorm grew worse, shaking the windows. The bikers fixed her fireplace, reinforced her door, and even took turns shoveling the snow outside. For the first time in years, Mrs. Hayes had company, laughter, stories, and the hum of life filling her lonely house. When dawn broke, the storm had passed. The bikers stepped outside, grateful for warmth and food. Mason thanked Mrs. Hayes and promised to visit again someday. She waved, thinking it was just a kind farewell, nothing more. But Mason had already made a silent decision. As they rode away, the group stopped at a diner miles down the road. Mason stood up and told everyone what had happened. How one elderly woman had risked her safety to help them when no one else would. "She treated us like sons," he said, voice cracking. "And I'm not gonna let her kindness go unnoticed." Word spread fast through the biker community. Phone calls, texts, social media posts. Within hours, dozens of bikers across nearby towns knew about Grandma Hayes, the woman who had sheltered the Iron Hawks. By noon the next day, the quiet road outside Mrs. Hayes' home rumbled again, but this time, the sound wasn't from 15 bikes. It was from over 100. Mrs. Hayes stepped onto her porch, her eyes widening in disbelief. Rows upon rows of bikers lined up, engines rumbling softly in respect. One by one, they removed their helmets. Big, tattooed men and tough women stood silently in the snow, waiting for her to speak. Mason approached her with a small gift, a leather jacket, hand-painted with wings and roses. On the back, it read, "The Iron Grandma, forever one of us." Tears filled her eyes as the crowd cheered. From that day on, Mrs. Hayes wasn't just the lonely widow at the edge of town. She became family to every biker in the state. Every Sunday, they visited her, fixed her fence, stocked her pantry, and shared meals around her old wooden table. Soon, local news picked up the story. Kind old lady shelters bikers. Gets the biggest surprise of her life. People from all over sent her letters, flowers, and donations. But what mattered most to her wasn't the fame, it was the feeling of belonging again. She often sat on her porch, watching the long line of motorcycles pulling up, each one carrying someone who now called her grandma. She'd smile and say, "My husband was right. Bikers really do have the biggest hearts." Before long, the Iron Hawk started a charity in her name, Eleanor's Haven, a foundation to help elderly people during winter. Every year, hundreds of bikers ride together to deliver food and warm clothes to the elderly, in memory of one woman who showed them the true meaning of kindness. And if you ever drive down that same snowy highway, you might still see a small wooden house and outside, a plaque that reads, "Here lived Grandma Hayes, the woman who made 100 bikers believe in humanity again." If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful real-life stories that remind us one act of kindness can start a movement.